Hello, welcome to Scrap Time, episode 897. My name is Christine, and on today's episode, I'm showing you the Crafters Workshop templates with distress products. Today, I'm showing you some new stencils from the Crafters Workshop. These are 12 by 12 stencils. I showed you some similar ones previously, the 6 by 6 version, but now we're going to work with the larger ones. So we have this great leaf pattern. This great sort of 50s pattern design. This one is a lot of fun, different textures you can add to your projects. Here we have the halftone borders. These little teardrops or drops of some sort. It was really fun. This giraffe print. This one I think is baubles. These little lines and circles. And then we have these circles and squares. And then like this tile sort of one. So lots of fun designs. So I'm going to use a few of them today. I'm going to show you what I made and what we're going to try to make. So when I was doing my art journaling class, I used some distress inks, and I hadn't used them in a while, so I wanted to use distress inks with the stencils. So I did the backgrounds using a variety of the stencils. You can see the halftone borders, and then there's that square and circle, and then the textures on top and that. This one had the tile and that. And then I decided I wanted to do something on top. And so I pulled out Tracy Batista's Doodles Unleashed book and got some ideas for doodling on top, and I drew it on and then painted it in. So that was my inspiration, was from this book. So I did these two pages as well as I did this page here, and I used all distress products for the backgrounds and the painting. So we're going to do something similar, but we're going to do it on a card. So it won't take us nearly as long as a whole page would. So the first thing I did was, because I was doing a page, I wanted to do the background using distress stains. Now when you're just doing a card, you can easily use your inks and do a solid background. But when you're doing a large page, I just find using the stains is a lot quicker. When I use the stains, I start by adding water to my page. My water bottle isn't spraying very well right now. And I do this so the colors sort of sit on the water and they don't soak in right away. And it gives you some time to blend them out. So I just sort of randomly add some color in. I'm using mustard seed, spice marmalade, ripe persimmon is this one. And then I have barn door for a bit of red. And then what I do is I take a brush and I just sort of blend the color. I don't want it all, I want the individual colors to show through, but I just sort of blend it out. So now I'm going to dry that. So our stain has dried now, so now we're going to start adding the stencil designs. So I picked a few to add. I'm going to start with this circle and square one. And I have a variety of colors to play with here. I think I'm going to start with some pinks, yellows, and reds. When I'm using it, I like to put the caps beside the inks, and then that way I just know what color, because sometimes they look similar. So I'm going to put some yellow, but I don't know, sometimes yellow doesn't show up the best, but it will warm it up anyway. And then some pink. And we'll put some red on there. And you can lift it off and see if you covered it all. I could put a little bit more on the edge here. Otherwise it's pretty good. So there we have our first design. So I'm going to, next I'm going to use this zebra print. So I'm not going to use yellow. I might use some more pink, maybe a bit more red, but I'm going to add in purple as well. I'm going to sort of cover it all in with the pink and the red, and then just put a little bit of purple on, I think. Okay, so we're going to take that off. So even though we use some of the same colors with the pinks and reds, you can still see it pop on top of the other color. So I'm going to put these colors away. Now I'm going to work with some gathered twigs, walnut stain, and aged mahogany. And I'm going to put a little bit of this down the side. And I'll do that with some gathered twigs. And then I'm going to use this one. So you can see by layering up your stencils all the different neat looks you can get. Put some of that on. I like this splatter. Maybe some bubble wrap. Oops, wrong color. And I might just put some of this texture on as well. Do it this way. I'll do that with the aged mahogany. Okay, and after this we will be done this step. So you can see our background there. We have a lot going on, but it's the more layers you put on, the more depth and interest you get into your background. So now comes the fun part. We're going to doodle on top of this and then paint it in. So what I use is these new Liquitex paint markers. It's acrylic paint in a marker. And I think I'm just going to do that basic flower. So I make sure it's working. And so I can I like to turn it as I go. Makes it easier to draw. And then we need some leaves. And we'll start with that. We can always add a bit more into it later. So now I'm going to use my distress paints. So I think for the flower I'm going to use some orange, pink, and purple. So what I do is I actually put my paint on my table. And I use a smaller brush for this, and I'll start with orange. And I'm just going to start by coloring it, painting it in. Now because our background was orange, you don't see it as much, but it's good just to get that little, start to make it a little solid. Then I can add pink over it. With maybe a bit of purple. Might be a lot of purple, so I'll add it over here. And if you go over the lines, that's fine too, because we'll go over them again. If you need more, you just put more out. Now I like it too sometimes when you do see some of that design showing through. Just adds a bit more texture to your flower or whatever it is you're doodling on and coloring in. Okay, now I'm going to do the leaves, and I'm going to do them with a bit of green and a bit of yellow. So that's mowed lawn and mustard seed. So I'm putting the green on and then just adding a bit of yellow for a bit of depth to it all. Okay, I'm just going to give that a bit of a dry. So now I want to add some white paint, and that's what will just give it those highlights. So now it just brightens it up. So I'm going to wipe off this paint and dry it, and we're going to go back to our markers. So I'm going back to my black marker, and now what I want to do is just make it a little bit more alive. And so I'm going to just go over it all again, and if you don't go over it exactly, that's fine too. It just makes it more sketchy. Then I'm going to add some little doodles. A bit more pink going. So our final step, I'm going to dry that a little. Our final step is adding white. You can use the Liquitex white, but I also have this Molotow. It's the same thing. Oh, this one I haven't used it. Yeah, there's the one I've used. Except this time it has a bullet bottom rather than this type of nib. So it's just two different types of nibs. And what I'm going to do is go over it again, just with the white though. And the white is just brightens it up. Even there I went off a bit. It'll be fine. It just makes it more sketchy and free flowy. And so there we have a fun card. We used distress stains, distress inks, distress paints, a little acrylic markers, and you have a fun doodly layered mixed media card. Well, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to check out our website at www.scraptime.ca. And on our next episode, I'm showing you some new Hero Art stamps with their neon ink pads. So please join us. Thanks for watching Scrap Time.